Should be good to go.
Yo, so what's good, everybody? This is part two. We'll segue into our last visit. Basically, me and Charlie decide we're going to do some questions and discuss some hot button topics that a lot of people don't address, which we're going to get into it. So, what's going on with you, Charlie?
Nothing much, man. It was a beautiful day here in Charleston today. Coming up on the springtime. Having good success with the girls lately has uh, kept me pretty busy and trying to maintain that. And I think that's something we're going to talk about today. Um,
Yeah,
Keeping a rotation of girls, how many girls you can handle, how much work it is, what to expect, maybe when you want to keep some, cut them loose. It's an interesting topic that doesn't get talked about too much because most guys never get to that point. Most guys are never going to have the success with women to where they have options, they can choose, they can afford to not call a girl back. Oh, you know what? It just wasn't my vibe. I'm not interested, or uh, to keep a girl interested long enough and have multiple going at the same time. It's something that not enough guys experience, but
yeah,
they should. And if they keep doing what we're preaching, they will get to that point. That's what happened to me. I learned from you guys. I learned from Chris. I kept going. I worked hard. Luckily, I've gotten to a point where I'm starting to be able to enact that. And but it's a new process for me. We're learning, and I think it'll be good for people to hear what we have to say on that today.
yeah. And also encountering, how there's a lot of programming that comes up in your reactions with these situations that say like, do I have to like feel bad about letting this one go? Do I have to keep answering to this one? Or say she's pursuing you and saying, what's the deal? What are we? What's going on with you? Like this sort of unapologetically just cutting someone off completely, like knowing when it's the right time to do that and not feeling bad about it, which is some of the conflict that I definitely hear guys ask about, and I know for sure that still that comes up a lot, even when a girl is knocking on your door or she's really pursuing you, wanting to know what's their status. So that's something I'll start really drilling into us, that um, this unapologetic just denial, and just like they do to us, because we were discussing, me and Charlie, the other day about how we are, let's just not, we're definitely at a social disadvantage with women. We put things and organize things like this together to try to make it somewhat of an even playing field. But, girls, I'm sure all the guys listening to this could attest that they just could just write guys off. They've been getting hit on since childhood, and they just have this knack about letting guys go very easily and not really giving a fuck. So we are just, when the revolt roles start to reverse, and we are coming where we have two to three girls dating at a time, and we're in unfamiliar territory when that starts to happen. So we're like, what do we do? Do we have to apologize? Do we have to do this? A lot of these questions come to the mind, and then we have to learn to do what they've done since childhood, which is just basically unapologetically writing someone off or not giving a fuck about the person. It sounds terrible, but they've been doing that to us for years and years and years. So I think it's important that I just addressed it now, but we'll, if Charlie wants to get into it further, we can, because he's dealing with this present time, real time. I think he's dating one or two to three girls right now. So um, it's always better when the guy is actually living it currently, which is important to talk about as well.
Absolutely. The programming, as you said, is very strong. I mean, guys, even from ex-girlfriends that they had 5, 10 years ago, still have trouble letting go of them, letting it
Mm-hmm.
leave alone some girl that they're currently seeing, and they dig her vibe. They think she's cool, and the social programming is strong. And guys, just we have a natural tendency to want to take care of women. It's just, I mean, it makes sense evolutionarily speaking, right? Men are the leaders of the tribe. We want to take care of the women, take care of the children. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but we really have to, once you step into this new place of abundance, have to be able to look out for your mental health first and you're trying to create a drama free life. You want to live a drama free life. And we want girls in our life for sure, and that's part of creating a drama-free life. We want to get rid of those lonely times, those times when we don't have companionship. We're trying to get rid of that, right? But then when we bring women in, it can create drama and complicate things in another sense. You just can't let another person complicate your life for no reason. And sometimes girls, for better for worse, will do that unknowingly, unwittingly. And
Yeah, it's
you have to look out for yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And if you, I think if you try to live by a rule of creating a drama-free life, and then you can recognize when maybe a girl, even if you really like her, if she's bringing in a little too much drama, she's instigating things a little too much, she's
mhm.
maybe pushing a little more than you're comfortable with, you have to be aware of that. That doesn't mean you have to kick her to the curb right away, but that's something you gotta keep in mind as you continue to evaluate your situation, as you continue to see other girls, and you don't get overly invested in these girls because now you can see that they're not perfect, right? So that's
And
definitely
we have the
one
ability
way to
as
approach it.
guys. That that's a great point, Charlie. And we have the ability to keep in mind. You may say, "Well, that's easier said than done." We have the when this is new to us and we're in uncharted waters and we're the tables are being turned basically, and we're in a position of abundance. We have this thing where we're used to like tolerating women, and you don't pick up on the red flags, and that's kind of
Absolutely.
what I could speak on actually of late in this particular situation. You find yourself like, what am I doing? I'm tolerating these things, and like Charlie mentioned, these red flags that we see and take note of, you kind of brush aside and say, nah, I'm not getting any pussy, and in the back of your brain, you're saying, I'll just tolerate it and see, you know,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not going to get any more pussy. So that is a big stronghold depending on your situation. You know,
Oh yeah.
uh,
Guys tolerate a ton of bullshit from girls, especially the guys that aren't getting laid, right? Every
mhm.
one of us has, stories all the time being friend zoned, right? Being friend zoned, that's happened to every guy. That is the number one toleration thing that you deal with, right? A girl is basically rejecting you to your face, and you tolerate that bullshit. So
Yeah, no
even
doubt.
getting over that big hurdle is a step for a lot of guys. Let alone some of the smaller stuff. Tolerating when a girl maybe just pushes you a little bit on some things or starts fights for no reason, or says what
Uh,
are we a, a week or two into knowing her, clearly just things that we know are not what we want to deal with in our life, right? So learning to not be so tolerant is a good thing. We
mhm.
used to always talk about tolerance as a good thing. You don't need to be so
Yeah,
tolerant. Your time is important. Your time is important. Your peace is important. You got to take care of yourself. So that's
yeah, for sure.
I can't stress that message enough.
And no one is, in my personal experience, no one's fully granted immunity of it, depending on your circumstances. No, there's no like, you've reached this apex and you'll never have to encounter something like this again, based on your situation. If you're not living this day in and day out, experience can only bring you so far. And if you're presently not dealing with it, these old things can easily creep up. And you're like, whoa, what a minute. Why am I settling? Or why am I giving this girl what being, feeling bad or being overly tolerable to this woman and all these red flags? Like things could easily creep back up.
Oh
Sure.
yeah.
Like 5, 10 years ago, when, if I had a 5 girl rotation, like, why do I have to deal with it now? Because the present moment doesn't give a fuck about your past and how good you were at one point or
Hmm.
your circumstances. It can help slightly. I mean, it's never a bad thing really, but it's always fresh, it's always new, and you could easily slip up and start unknowingly, being this sort of beta male type of thing where you're appeasing to her every little command and demand, and you're kind of just brushing aside all of her nonsense just to get a little bit of pussy, as every guy has thinks, oh well, it's going to be tough getting a replacement or yada yada. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. And I think for the most part, you start to see that you have enough pride. Like sometimes pride will carry a guy through where he'll suck it up and white knuckle it for however long, he could, and without getting pussy. Because it's just some situations are so unbearable and it's so intolerable that she'll sabotage it herself. And she's just waiting for one outburst, and it's basically case closed, and that's it. It's
Yeah.
finished. So that saves, time and heartache. Actually, it may not look like it. It may sting a little bit at the beginning, but it's better off because she's testing you, and you're better off actually exploding. Sometimes I know you're saying you're
Interesting.
advocating anger and stuff like that, but there's been times where I'm not fucking putting up with it anymore. Just I'll say something and it's over. It's dead. Once I exploded back, I'm not going to be tested. I'm not going to change who I am and be this little soft, oh, anything you want. I'm so sorry, sweetie. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. When she's just doing this to get a rise out of you or to
Yeah.
test you or to some sort of fucking game, you do not have to sit in it and tolerate it, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, man.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting take. And then the one thing I thought of while you were speaking on that was how obviously the hotter the chick, the more bullshit you're gonna be naturally inclined to tolerate. Like, I had a girl over
Hmm.
a couple weeks ago who I was I liked her, but I wasn't super interested, and she started giving me a little bullshit, and I basically just ended it and kicked her out right then and there.
Oh,
Right.
good, good for you. Yeah, guys like me and Charlie have seen this enough. Sometimes it comes natural for some people. Other people, I've known friends who stick with girls. So I go like objectively watching from the outside, we've all could see and be like, dude, what is he doing? Why is he taking that much from this woman? But like sometimes, like I said, pride or something, or will actually help us out in a way where you can just end it and dead it. And if your anger could actually become your friend in those situations because that's it. You're not going to deal with it.
Absolutely. And the reason I was so quick to kick her out, which I normally wouldn't have, was because I had another hot girl that wanted to meet up that night. So it was like, okay, you're not going to play nice. Let me
Mm-hmm.
get rid of this and
Yeah.
then see what else, right? And so that's what options can do for you, right? And
Yes,
we always talk about that, but it puts you in a powerful negotiating position.
it
I
really
don't
does.
necessarily love how that went down, but
Mm-hmm.
honestly, that's better than the sort of playing along, playing nice.
Yep.
You can make up for it. Oh, she's giving you, like, I'm pretty good at smoothing over those situations, and probably could have gotten lucky anyway and made it all fine, but it's a headache and it's a
Yep.
hassle and it's work, and you want to have the girls over that aren't gonna make you work. You want the ones that are gonna like you enough to make it easy.
If you have the gift of gab and you have the ability, some people, to be a really slick talker and smooth talker, and they can somehow finesse their way to like make things better temporarily. I'm glad I actually don't have that gift.
Mm,
I'm like not the most well spoken, and I very aware of my emotions, and sometimes that anger in these situations will save you years of heartache and
yeah.
tolerating this nonsense bullshit. I'd rather not have that skill of being a slick talker with someone and learning how to finesse and try to, you don't want to stay in situations like this, is what we're trying to say. And once we start to realize that the tables have turned and we're coming from a position of abundance, you don't even really need to even get angry. I'm just saying what could happen. Don't, it's not the end of the world. It will sting a little bit, but with options, like Charlie said, it's a lot easier to just smile in her face and just say, all right, it's over. It doesn't, and you can move on really, really quickly. You don't even need to really get angry.
Yeah, absolutely. um but we should talk about how much work it is to have.
Yeah.
I i i started to i started the success started to snowball for me in the recent months, and it was getting to the point of, okay, I've got four girls in rotation, oh, maybe even five. Oh, are you still there? The internet connection is being slow.
Okay.
um but as I was saying, having four girls in rotation, all of a sudden possibly five. Um, it's almost you've had five girls in rotation before. How did you deal with that? Because it was too much for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember where girls were from. I couldn't remember basic stories about them. I it had that in that stifled conversation. That and it's takes hard work. Didn't have any free nights. So how did you handle that?
That's a great point, Charlie. I'm glad that you said that because we just tend to say, well, we have these lofty goals, and there's nothing wrong with having these lofty goals. We always want to be dating and having girls coming to us and have options, but we never get into the work, the amount of work it takes, and that's a big factor. Like recently, I just had uh, two, actually three, uh, and it was like it was a lot of work. I was concerned with it. But I really didn't like any one of them to really like fully commit. That's another issue that I remember Charlie just bringing up to me. Like, wow, there's one that I actually do really like. So that we just have to determine which ones we're going to spend more time with, invest more time in, and we don't even care. You have to always be willing to lose some of these girls, and that's a key factor. Like, just they're not going to get the attention they deserve. They're going to they'll quickly be able to size you up and figure out what the situation is and what the deal is. I guess the knock on me always was that I wasn't super, well, not the knock, but just super sexual, and I could. They don't care. They know what they're signed up for. As honest as you could possibly be, they know what they're signed up for, and if you have the ability to maintain it for a while. But going back to your question, yeah, I was up to a 5 girl rotation whenever it was 10 years back, and that was at the time I was rolling with it. It was really like I had no problem living that lifestyle. I was all about it, and but it should be interesting this go around because, like I said, my most recent memory is trying to juggle 3 girls, and that was I was saying like, oh my God, I can't believe I was able to like maintain a 5 girl rotation for a decent amount of time too. So
But you were living the bachelor lifestyle full time, right? Were you
yeah,
working at that
no,
time, or it was all
it
totally
was
that
all yeah,
lifestyle?
it was everything catered to this. I was doing some pickups for my dad and stuff like that, but nothing. My life was this stuff. Yeah, I could
Mhm.
devote so much time to it, and even during the 5 girl rotation, I was still upholding to like my inner like promise I made to myself that I'll go out all the time and still continue to date and talk to girls, always keeping that like fresh, always keeping that fresh. And that was important too. You would think like you'd have to slow up on that a little bit.
Mhm.
No, I really don't think I slowed up much going out. It was like going out
Interesting.
always. Yeah, that was almost like my lifeline. I always felt like the more I would go out, despite your dating situation and how if they were repeat customers or not, I was just doing that all the time, whether it be at work or whether it be at the gym or make an hour at the mall. I would go walk around there. I was always making time to see things fresh and keep the stream, so to speak, of women like fresh. Always looking to replace the next one. If she slips up, or I was never fully satisfied with one, or always looking to just keep that rotation fresh.
Interesting. As
Yeah,
I've been having this rotation I have right now, the girls I'm seeing, I do like, and no one's
right.
perfect, but nothing's happened to the point of me wanting to kick them out or anything. But
Sure.
just just taking care of the two girls and every now and then another girl on the side, whatever. Um, it's I've been slowing down on the going out or even who I'm going to talk to. If a girl is obviously throwing herself at me, and it has happened where girls are looking me up and down or sliding into my DMs
Hmm.
often, then like I'm still open to it, but it's at least for my life right now, which is not currently fully living the bachelor lifestyle, right? Not can't commit all my time to this, having
Yeah.
a job and then working on a couple other side gigs.
Yeah.
Two is a ton. So, um,
Yeah. Yeah. I
to
could see that, Charlie, for sure. Yeah, you're not. We were in a little bit different situation, and that is a big factor because you don't have the time then to. You, of course, your time and going out and going to your lifeline, so to speak, and keeping it always fresh and always talking to women throughout your day. First of all, my job was enabling me to do that anyway.
Mm.
Girls at supermarkets all the time, or making pickups, stopping here, stopping there. I've always had the ability to keep keep it fresh and keep talking to women. And I think that's super important if you have the ability to pull it off. I really do, because things could quickly go from I have three girls to I have no girls really quickly. Like that's recently just happened to me, where I've had
Yeah.
three girls, in the pipeline, so to speak, and right now it's dry.
Oh,
All right, Charlie. So yeah, where we got cut off there, I was just saying how we can easily go from three women or four women, whatever, to having no one in the rotation real fast. So I think that's why I've always kept it fresh with women. I've always stayed active, regardless of my circumstances. I always, there should always be some, especially if you're not fully satisfied with everything, or even if you are, because we're unsure of that. We can never fully know for sure. We can have an idea, and girls give us something to work with, but like uh, you can't always tell. So the point is, I've always stayed, like going to the gym or taking a vitamin in the morning. You just keep replenishing and refreshing that stream. Even if you pursue something, I think there's always something. The universe, despite what our situation is always pouring in new women and fresh faces all the time. So I always wanted to stay in that pipeline and hit the field as much as I can and stay active, because I've seen it firsthand. I'm experiencing it right now. I just recently had a three girl in the rotation, and it really right now just dried up real quick.
hmm.
Um, for a variety of reasons. So now you're back at square one. But had I been, it's just been totally different this go around, and people could maybe relate to this. I don't have a great right now. My logistics, which I preach uh, heavily on all my videos, is I would say logistics is like a 2 out of 10 right now. It's really
Yeah.
not great to begin with. So
Yeah.
I
But
can't do what I really can't do, and have the confidence to back me and the support system of logistics to help me go out all the time, or like I was doing 10 years ago, how it was just a daily ritual.
uh-huh.
I had so many different hunting grounds, and I knew where to go, when to go. It was really solid logistics. I mean, I had a basement apartment as well, which was really perfectly done. My grandfather lived in there, and he died at a very young age. So it was almost, yeah, it was my parents' house, but even that was an ideal situation, because, well, maybe not the best, but out of 10, probably 8, bringing girls into a basement apartment that was all done up was pretty dope spot for a young 20-year-old kid. So,
Yeah.
or kid in his 20s.
But
So
that's something one of your top priorities right now is changing the logistics. But
absolutely. Logistics is there to just support us. And we could deny it all day and say, oh, we could have made the best of the situation and this and that. And I've heard other pickup artist guys talk about how, oh, I was just making excuses not go out. That could be part of it. But that's not the situation here. You have to be true to what is going on with your circumstances. But there's a reality to being in a bad situation. Are you going to be doing pickup in a jail cell? I mean, there's just certain things you can't get away with based on logistics. So it's there to support us, and if we have the freedom where we're not incarcerated or something, we can make our logistics however we like and make it suitable to our schedule.
yeah, but I want to go back to this idea of having a rotation of girls and continuing to go out. So I was in a position where I had a couple girls that I liked,
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed being around, and new to myself, I would be happy to have them stick around for extended periods of time. Uh, but I was still saying, okay, well, this is new, and I know that everyone says to keep going and keep going out, keep trying to get new girls, keep an abundance mentality, you never know when you're going to lose one of them. So
Hmm.
be ready. But I found myself uh, doing that, having the couple girls that I was like kind of settled on being keeping around for a little bit, uh, and then going out with a couple other girls. And but I found that the other girls I was going out with, uh, they didn't really do it for me. They, they were fine. Maybe in a different time period, uh, I would continue to see them for longer, but just at that time,
Sure.
it it wasn't really going to happen. So it ended up being a one night stand type deal, and I knew I probably wasn't going to call him back. But I have to say, I did feel I felt bad afterwards. I
Mm,
felt bad for a variety of reasons. I don't know if this is social programming, but for some of
sure.
the reasons being like, okay, I have a couple girls I'm seeing right now. Uh, you know, can I just keep uh, going and seeing new girls all the time while still being able to give enough affection to them and like keep them around, make them feel good about continuing to seeing me, or and at the same
Yeah.
time uh, going and seeing new girls just for even though it wasn't gonna be anything. I don't know. My heart wasn't really in those girls. Like I think maybe if you have a bit of a rotation,
Hmm.
to really be okay with bringing new girls in, continuing to like go out and keep looking, those girls really kind of got to knock your socks off, or at least for me to not feel like
Hmm.
I'm not doing it just to do it. Those girls have to reach a certain level. So, what do you think
Yeah.
about that sort of that feeling bad? Is that just sort of social programming? Is that a natural thing? Have you ever
Yeah.
felt anything like that before?
Oh yeah, of course. This feel bad thing is like a huge part of the programming that we are dealt with. I really think we're handed this stuff. Not think, I know from experience for sure. Like, yeah, you feel bad, and I was actually surprised you said that. I thought you were going to go with, oh, it made me like it reassured that I had an abundance of women, and it kept things fresh.
It did, and I knew
Yeah.
that, and it was like I still had that like pep in my step. Like it's an accomplishment, but sometimes
Hmm.
accomplishments, maybe if your heart isn't in it, and for maybe it's just that one girl or not, I don't know, but
Yeah, it could be a variety of factors. I don't want to sit here and say I have the answer. I would definitely lean towards that. It was just programming kicking in, and just, move on, and don't let that stop you from having another sexual encounter with a new girl. Absolutely, just keep the ball rolling,
yeah,
sort of thing. I almost did it and said, this is my, like when we refer to things as a lifestyle change, this is my life and it's who I am. It's ingrained in who I am now. I am this person. That's that's how deeply we really have to go to rewire ourselves and say this doesn't matter whatever whatever life throws at you, you're just going to keep rolling with the punches, and this is what I do. Almost like we say, this is what I do for a living, this is who I am. These words, we're using these words in our favor, uh, with something that we thoroughly enjoy doing, and we know that our happiness is tied to uh, positive relationships with the opposite sex, and keeping a healthy sex life alive and going, and learning how to master to the best of your ability, a multitude of women, really. Because I always think you should, like I said, regardless of status of what you are right now, you want to make it feel like nothing changed. Yeah, unless you really made a big mistake and got married. Well, I don't want to say a big mistake, but yeah, I think marriage now is becoming sort of obsolete. I think it's in the rear view mirror. I don't know if it's an outdated thing.
yeah,
That's a whole nother topic for
yeah.
another podcast. But like, it's apparently the statistics back it up. I think we're heading in a world where that's become something very rare. Let's put it that way. With
Absolutely.
lawyers and stuff like that, I think marriage is turning into something that is becoming very rare. So
At least a good healthy marriage, right? Not just
yeah.
not just a girl
Well, no,
saying
where
my
you are
clock is
like
ticking.
where you're. Yeah, well, you're legally tied to some woman now. You know, you have the legal ramifications to deal with, and if you have children with this woman, you have obligations to meet and stuff like that. So that is honestly not even my specialty. I don't like speaking on things that I've never experienced really. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just stick with like healthy relationships and a healthy sex life. Um, and if some girl's really grilling you to, make this legal and stuff like that, you may want to reconsider. That may be something. Wait a minute, why do we have to do this? Like,
Yeah.
why some girls are so hell bent on keeping that tradition alive, and we they could have ulterior motives. It would certainly raise an eyebrow for me if things were
Absolutely.
going really, really well, and all of a sudden this girl starts grilling you that let's make this legal and stuff like that, and you were content with how things were rolling and progressing. You may want to reconsider. So you always have to, calibration is a huge part of what we talk about. um, and there's no black and white. There's really no black and white. You may just want to see where you stand, and try to back out of that if you can. You don't want to get cornered and just concede to what she is if your heart's not fully into it, like Charlie said. And don't feel obligated either if your heart's not in it and you really want to devote more time to this particular girl. You should be able to, again, calibrate and say, okay, I'm going to cut, with your schedule, cut back on some of the approaches and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
um, that's up to the individual. Really, it's your own discretion.
Well, what do you think about this? Clearly, there's a difference in the sort of pickup lifestyle and maybe maintaining a rotation type lifestyle, whether it's five girls or hell, even just one girl, right? I mean, I know that's sort of getting into relationship and dating territory, but what are the differences in there's got to be differences in demeanor and game and all these things that you're doing between whether it's you're going out to pick up a chick or you've been seeing her for a couple weeks and you want to keep keep it rolling. What's the difference in demeanor? What's the difference in your attitudes and your beliefs when you're dealing with that situation?
You're gonna have to. I'm sorry, Charlie. What your demeanor changing as far as when you're with a girl or going out into the field type of thing? What is that?
No,
Could you clarify that?
I mean, if I feel like there's two different attitudes you can have or two different mindsets, whether you're in that sort of like full on pickup mode. That
Mm-hmm.
that's a mindset, right? That's a type of attitude and belief about the world, about women, about yourself. As you keep the ball rolling and you start to build up a rotation, maintaining some of those girls, I think requires uh, an alternative type mindset. I don't know if
Hmm.
do you know what I'm saying?
Huh. I wonder if it just naturally takes place. Yeah, and you just again lump it in there with calibration on what. Yeah, just you're saying. Yeah, don't take learning how to take it down a couple notches when necessary. Uh, your whole mindset shifts. Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer to that. If your
Because
whole mind shift.
I'm definitely escalating faster on a girl when I'm out doing pickup or I picked her up on Tinder and she's over for a date. We're
Yeah.
meeting for the first time. I'm escalating fast, right? I'm getting to
Hmm.
sex or at least letting her know that sex is like a non-negotiable basically. Like that's what I'm after and that doesn't mean that's all that's the only thing I think about, but like, we're that's what I'm looking for, right? That's who I
Hmm.
am, and that's part of it. But you keep a girl in your rotation for a couple weeks, she already knows that point what the deal is. I don't have to fucking as soon as she jumps out of her car tackle her, right? So it's almost like dialing it back a little bit. You don't want to
Yeah,
dial it back too much, but have you
that's what I
experienced that?
said. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. Once you've sealed it and sealed and delivered, and she has a level of expectation, and she's down to fuck for the most part every time or whatever. Or yeah, there's a level of, I guess, like nonverbal agreements, that a
Mhm.
mutual understanding, certain, I guess, yeah, mutual understanding of what the situation is. Sure. So yeah, you don't have, obviously it's just boom. Once you've sealed
Yeah,
it, yes, it's just automatically changing. Yes, of course you're no longer where you haven't even got the pussy yet.
yeah,
So yeah, that naturally changes. Absolutely.
because she already knows what you're about. You've already laid it all out there, so you don't have to.
Yeah, you've already slept with a woman. There is something that changes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She and keeping that woman a part of your rotation. For the most part, the girls, oh, nowadays things are changing. But back in the day, for the most part, girls were like, they were wanted to see you more so that they're not perceived as a slut. I'm starting to
Mhm.
notice in today's world we're living in, they don't even give a fuck. Like they don't care, man. They just leave and they don't give a fuck one night stand or not. Like, but back then it felt like girls, 10, 15, 10, 12 years ago, at Scotty's Pete, they were like, once you slept with them, they wanted to be with you again and sleep with you again and be part of that rotation. It was like to earn that, to be part of that was like a good thing, and they were happily do it. Um,
Interesting.
yeah. So the dynamic, and we always have to be mindful of this, that a culture or the way society's living right now could always be changing or shifting slightly. Things are always shifting, so you have to be on the lookout for that. And from what I'm noticing, it's like they seem to give a fuck less at more and more. Like they'll do the one nights and dip on you, and you're like, what the fuck? I'm used to girls after I at least fuck them. They don't want to usually be perceived as a slut or this and
Yeah.
that, and they usually come crawling back and make life hella easy. Now I'm noticing a little bit more. It's weird. There's crazy slut mode.
Yeah. I mean, and hey, I guess there's pros and cons to the whole promiscuity thing, right? And that's not a con I ever thought about. That the uh, anti-slut defense, as Mystery might have said, or something like that, where the tendency to not want to be seen as a slut will maybe make a girl keep coming back after she's already given it up to you, because that's seen as
Mhm.
some type of a a commitment. But now I guess sex for some girls, the
Mhm.
commitment has been completely eradicated from the conversation. So
Yeah,
I guess
sure,
I guess you
sure.
gotta lay it down good to keep them coming back.
And that's what I'm noticing. Even like, I don't. It's so strange with the few of these girls lately, and they just you could fuck the shit out of them, and they don't give a fuck. I've had just some girls, I'm like surprisingly not calling me. Back in the day, I'm telling you, back 10 years ago, whatever this was, they're coming back. Like, what is the word I'm looking for? The return ratio of
Uh-huh.
girls that are coming back are like very high, and I do think whatever Mystery was, even I didn't know that was even a concept, but yeah, they that sort of anti slut defense, they keep coming back. Or even if you, that's why I don't know if laying the pipe stuff is, but yeah, it's a really important thing to lay good pipe and this and that and all this looks, but they don't care, bro. I mean, they don't even give a fuck about that much. I think we overhype, you know, sometimes dick size and our looks. We try to maximize this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just a little piece of the puzzle that we try to maximize. And the underlining like uh, consensus or the programming or whatever is going on in society can override that stuff real quickly.
Interesting. Uh, so I think that's pretty good on talking about retention for a little bit. Before we wrap this up, I had a couple other things I want to throw at you. I had a couple
Sure,
things
man.
I wrote down. One of them, as I've told you, one of my favorite videos on YouTube is you talking on the RX Muscle Radio Show with Dave Palumbo and Jeff Magic. And
Right.
at one point on that show, you mention, I'm pretty sure it's from that, you mentioned the book My Secret Garden. Do you know? Do you remember that?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I bought that as a recommendation from one of the coaches I had.
Can you talk about that? Because I was interested in that and I went and looked it up and have even listened to some of it. Uh, what do you remember
What
about that?
you listen to the audio of it?
Yeah, yeah,
Did you
yeah,
actually
yeah,
buy the book? I
yeah.
got you. What do I remember about My Secret Garden? Dude,
For
man.
for people that don't know, it's like this 1970s feminist book that goes into great detail about women's sexual fantasies and these girls admitting
Yeah,
all the things that they're too afraid to admit in society, what they're actually into. Uh, you know, whether it's like uh, forced sex, almost rape, not actual rape, but the fantasy for some girls, or like uh, all different kinds of stuff, different types of power dynamics, what they're into. It's interesting. So,
yeah,
what
yeah.
do you
And I
remember
can't.
about
I
it?
have to. I know I was into it. I know I was reading it for sure. It was a highly recommended book from one of the teachers I was working with. And that was it. It was just a part. It wasn't. I'd have to refresh my memory on it, but that's dope stuff. I would recommend reading it. It's a cool book. Yeah, girls' fantasies and stuff like that. And revealing these secrets that they want. You know, like you said, almost to the point of being raped is a fantasy of some girls and shit like that. Yeah, it's a cool book. I definitely remember reading it, man. So,
Yeah,
are you
it's
enjoying it
very
now? Or yeah,
it's been a while since I picked it up, but after I heard you talk about it, I went and looked it up, and it's very
yeah, I
interesting. It's definitely raunchy, man. There's some stuff in there that was whoa, kind of,
yeah,
had to take
yeah.
a step back for a second. But I mean, that's one of the reasons why it's worth listening to, because you never know if you're going to be have girls in your rotation. You're going to end up talking about sex, talking about what they're into. You're going to get into more detail. You're going to learn about women's sexual mindset, and to maybe have a little background on that might be good homework for some of you guys. Um,
Yeah. And
it's
my
not,
point to leave off, like literally, I've made some girls that are no longer in the rotation cream and cum, and you could fuck the shit up. They're nowhere to be found now. So sometimes even there's an overriding factor that you may think that's wild, that's crazy. And yeah, it might help. Like these things
yeah,
are just, so-called crutches or whatever, or things that are you're not even thinking about that. You're just laying the pipe because you're laying the pipe and you enjoy doing that, not necessarily, whatever the outcome is. We're not really responsible of the outcome of that. That could be a byproduct of, a higher retention rate. But at the end of the day, it's we don't know what the outcome of these some of the consequences or results of these actions are. Yeah, so I'm going to definitely dust off that book, and I might give it a read again
yeah.
for
There's some
sure.
interesting shit in there. It's always good to delve into women's sexual mindset because it's so different from us, right? And it can be like I've learned about just recently from what girls have told me, the importance of the audio aspect, the audio perception. Like girls are getting almost turned on more by what they hear when you're having sex than what they feel. Sometimes, maybe that's only for some girls, but the importance of,
What they feel, you said? I'm
yeah,
sorry, you said what they feel? Yeah.
what they hear. Like if they can hear you like really fucking enjoying it, or like
Hmm.
being comfortable talking during sex and saying what's happening and expressing what you're feeling, like the audio, it, girls, that can really get girls hot too. So that's
Sure.
something I've learned recently. It's always good for guys to learn a little bit more about those kinds of things. uh, Hell, I
Hmm.
might fucking read 50 Shades of Grey just to see what turned
See,
on every fucking woman in this country.
what overhypes guys and what guys think they get carried away with and think that this is going to be the end all, my retention is going to be 100% or whatever, they're doing it now for an ulterior motive, or either because some girl has verbally said something to them. And girls take what they say with a grain of salt sometimes. This means so much, or like, that show Fresh and Fit. A lot of what these girls say is just nonsense,
Oh
and
yeah,
don't take it for what it's worth. Like
yeah.
some guy could be harboring that and shattered because some girl said that, or judged his experience, or you didn't deliver, or you did deliver the goods and actually blame something that at the end of the day had nothing to do with it. But it's important to weigh all these different factors for sure
Yeah.
of relationship. So
But yeah, that was something I wanted to ask you about. And one other thing that I wrote down, we don't have to go through everything because we're going to do more podcasts in the future, guys, where we get Scotty to react to all these different ideas and get his take, right off the dome on them. But I was watching.
and what we mentioned too, real quick, hold that thought,
Yeah,
Charlie, is that
go ahead.
things you tend to want to teach certain things that you're fresh in your brain right now. We're always going to touch on what we're currently experiencing, what we're going through, which is ideal. Like if someone's asking me to speak on marriage and things like that, obviously, I'm very good at pushing off and letting certain guys who can speak on foursomes or this, who've had more experience, and just let them take, speak on these topics. So it's going to be interesting as Scotty progresses, logistics change. There's going to be a lot of good content in store in the future as my overall situation changes. My material will definitely change quite a bit, no
Yeah,
doubt.
and it has to. I mean, it grows
Yeah,
with you, right? That your message grows as you grow.
yeah, exactly. The message grows all the time.
Um, but then one last thing,
Yeah, sure.
I was watching. There's this YouTube video series I like called Soft White Underbelly. And this guy goes and interviews all these random people. And this one, he was interviewing this pimp, this like super well known pimp in LA. He was an older dude. He's like 60, 70 now. He's been in the game for a long time. He was,
Yeah,
you could tell he was all pimped out. He had the whole fucking bedazzled outfit and fucking, he was legit. He was interesting, but
yeah.
he said something that really stuck out to me when he was asked about what's some of your best advice for guys with girls. And he said, I really like this. I think you'll like it too. He said, fuck with the girls that like you, not the ones that you like.
Hmm.
I thought, what do you think about that quote?
Fuck with the girls that like you, not the ones you like.
Yeah,
Yeah, ideally, sure, man. No doubt about it.
I thought that was very related to your message because you're always
That
preaching about, you know, don't let go of your standards, talk to anyone, go up to any girl, be open to talk to any girl and be in there and you're looking for a type of response and the ones that are going to be open to you. Like that's what a lot of this screening is about, right? Finding responses.
yeah, and all these things I say are just references that there's always leave yourself a little wiggle room. There's no hard pressed rule when I suggest certain things or
Of
this
course.
might be so. There's always room for a little, wiggling around there. So yeah, basically, again, a lot of this stuff really does come down to calibration, and bouncing it off somebody is not a bad idea. I remember dealing with certain things, and I don't care. Like the reason I initially reached out to someone for help is if this guy is getting laid off cold approach even one or two times, he has the ability to share something and has value to give the man who hasn't done that or experienced that. So uh, absolutely run it by somebody who's had experience with something you're presently going through. It can't hurt to just pick his brain and say, oh, what do you think? What course of action? I've ran into quite a few situations where like that pimp just said, I liked girls and pursued them when really it wasn't mutual. And just with experience, you start to be able to tell which ones are really interested in you. They want
Yeah.
to give the same. They want to give as much as you're giving.
Yeah.
You don't want to be giving all this energy and stressing and about this one girl. It's the Oneitis thing again, and you start to pedestalize these women who really don't deserve that. It's basically programming, controlling us, and telling us like we have to do this, and we feel like oh we're so far beneath them, which needs to be acknowledged. Yes, we are not socially equal. Like they have a major advantage. Hence why we try to put together a brotherhood of guys and stuff like that to try to make it an even playing field with women who have been getting hit on since the dawn of time. And they always, like, for the most part, have they do have options. I mean, I've heard plenty of stories where women say, "We're gonna fuck a guy tonight." It's like,
Yeah.
if they make a pact and say, "I'm gonna go out and fuck tonight," it's like just like that. They could just
Yeah.
it's a to say it's an even playing field that's kind of the goal, is to try to meet them halfway, where they start giving you the same amount of respect that you're giving to them, because they'll walk all over guys who are just uh who are chasing them too much. You
I
know,
had an
it's not.
experience like that the other weekend. A couple weekends ago, I went out. It was, cold approach, bring it, dance with this girl at the club, whatever. Go to take her out of the club, driving her back to my
Mm-hmm.
place. She gets on the phone with her girlfriend, and tell her girlfriend's like, "Oh, you left," and she says to her girlfriend, "Girl, you already know what I wanted to do tonight." So that's when she said that, I'm like, that's exactly what Scotty said. That's exactly what Brian said. That's
Yeah.
she girls will have a plan and they'll tell their friends before they go out. And I witnessed that communication right there. And I just happened to be the guy that was taking her home. So that's for you guys out there to know that's out there. And
Yeah.
don't
They
set
have
don't
packs.
don't set your standards too high. Be open to be that guy. It's better to be
Yeah,
that
for sure.
guy than you know only talk to the couple prettiest girls you saw and then walk home with your tail between your legs.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Besides, like I've always stated, and you'll notice if you're experiencing this yourself right now, if you go out and don't even speak and you're just kind of roaming around for that ideal set and not communicating with anybody, not even saying hello or anything, no socializing whatsoever. You're just kind of roaming around waiting for that perfect set to happen. You're lowering your vibrations. You're not even
Absolutely.
feeling, you're just on, like, your frequency is low, man, at
You
that
start to
point.
feel like you're making yourself an outsider, literally.
Yeah, for sure. Like the harm in that and the amount of time wasted in that. So for you guys who are out there experiencing that and doing that, really make it a point right now to just get the jaw going, get the mouth going, say hello to people, try to be
Talk to
polite to
anyone.
people. Just, yeah, talk to anyone, even if you have to, man. Give, homeless guy. I don't give a fuck who it is. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
better off speaking to somebody, man. You may
Yeah.
think it's insignificant, but man, you start to be this weirdo who's just roaming around, who hasn't said a word for like an hour, hour and a half. I've been there, and you're
I've
waiting
been
for
there.
that set. Yeah, you're just waiting for that set, and when it comes, you're not even in a good state, man, and
No.
you just get
You're
blown
fucking
out.
you're fucking
Yeah, yeah, you're just like,
in your head, bad vibration, bad mood, you don't know what to say. Yeah. I
for
spend
sure.
a ton of time doing that, waiting for the that's what a lot of guys do that when they get into this. It's
It is,
understandable.
because you're like, yeah, you're just throwing a guy out there, like in the field or whatever, on the field, and he's just kind of, his eyes are open wide, and he's like,
He's just looking for the homecoming queen. He's just
yeah,
looking, oh, where is she? And it's not like that. It's you got
it's
to see
weird too.
opportunity everywhere.
Yeah, and a lot of that is also uh fear of, like, oh, I have to deliver this, and there's a lot of like built-in expectations there, that I have to get this, I have to do this, and all these reactions that we have. So yeah, it's a combination of waiting for the right set and just a ton of fear of just living and being cool with yourself, and socializing with the people that come in your path. And that's part of the fun of it and the excitement of, when I go out tonight, there should be, like, I'm gonna be I'm going out tonight. Like, I'm gonna give myself permission to be friendly with other human beings. You know, if you keep it all to yourself and you're just, looking for your own little thing to happen. And it's just, yeah, like you said, the homecoming queen, and you haven't spoken in an hour, you're going to run into some trouble, man. Some big trouble.
It has to be a net positive experience, and you got to do
Mm-hmm.
whatever you can to make it that. You can't control everyone you talk to. You can't control how girls are going to react necessarily. I mean, that is what game is a little bit. Is getting better at controlling that, but you got going out has to be a thing you look forward to, or else you're gonna drudge along for a little bit and then just fucking get
Mhm.
sick of it and throw in the towel for a little while.
That's why it is cool to build an identity and go with a certain niche. And that's why I was getting a lot of questions about how'd you do in tattoo parlors, or how'd you do. I was really into like the reggae scene for a while and trying to meet the Caribbean girls, and
Mm,
and it's cool to build some identity, get in with certain promoters. Charlie, when I was out in Charleston with him, was shaking hands with a lot of guys, new guys at the front door. People were stopping him on the street, photographers. It's good to network and meet people, and stuff like that. Make it a point to do that stuff. Uh, because it will help you along the way for sure. And
it
even
helps.
if it's a lose lose, yeah, oh, no doubt, man. I mean, I remember when I was dating this one girl real quick. It was her birthday, and she wanted to bring a group of girls out, and she goes, this white dude who she's dating like knew a perfect scene where like there was reggae music and a Caribbean night in the city. And I knew the promoters, I knew the guys, and I was bringing 5 girls in. Of course, they were letting me cut the line and
Yeah.
shit like that. So things like that, it was
And
like
then you look
you
like
feel so,
fucking a badass.
yeah, you feel like the man. You feel like you've earned that. You've earned that. You just by being a respectful person to the door guy, being a respectful guy to the security, always
Mhm.
saying hello to them. How's things going? Just being a friendly dude. Respecting their job when they're out, and
Yeah.
it will pay off. It will pay off. The rewards, you'll start to feel the rewards of it, and you won't even consider going back. It will be a vague memory of you walking around, you know, keeping everything to yourself and just roaming around for that perfect set, riddled in fear, basically. Uh,
Yeah.
that's what that boils down to.
If guys don't know where to start, that's a great point. That's a great place to start. You can go make it a point to go and talk to the fucking bouncers and security guys and bartenders. If
Yeah.
you're too afraid to like go talk to chicks at first, you're still just getting used to this whole nightlife, night game. It's new for you or whatever.
Yep.
Fucking go talk to the people that work there and do that
I
in a
met some
couple
good
different
people,
bars.
man. They want to know who you are. Tell them the story. If you catch eye contact with one of these guys, or I've had them bail me out of situations, or if I was 1 or 2 times, I overdrank, and one of the bouncers where we were so tight that he helped me and drove me all the way back to Long Island. I
Wow.
mean, this guy, yeah, like I've made friends with these guys. They respected me, and it really was rewarding. It's guys where bouncers, big black guys inviting me out with their boys for their homies on their birthday. I want you to come to the strip club with us and shit like that. Like that's the type of relationships you want to go out there and build, and make it a
Yeah.
point to just be yourself, be friendly, hand out a business card, tell them what you do for a living. They're going to want to know. People, when you go out there, you make eye contact. If you're in a new scene and you kind of dig it and you're trying to establish yourself, yeah, put out some feelers and just be yourself, be friendly. If you're still figuring that out, who that is, ask some other guys some questions. A lot of guys will have their identities kind of established. Oh, I've been coming here for years. I've been dancing for a long time. Yeah, I practiced doing salsa with this girl and that girl. Yeah, guys will be happily tell you about their identity and how much they love it. Kind of rub off some of that charisma of another. They're usually happy to share, man. So be willing to do that stuff.
Absolutely. All right. We got about 1 minute left. Is there anything you want to say to take us out?
Nothing, man. Check out the new website. I'm doing coaching now. Again, feel free to hit me up. I'm doing some free phone consultations, and me and Charlie might be doing some sort of an event together in the next couple weeks. Kind of like a traditional style workshop or boot camp, if you guys are familiar with those. Obviously, a newer, updated version of them, and maybe June or something like that. But be on the lookout. I'll update my website accordingly. Go check that out, scottywingman.com. And thanks for tuning in and listening to our podcast.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, yo.
Peace.
Peace.
All right.